Hello and welcome to Relatable Code. In this video, we're going to talk about the lazy and Lateinit features of Kotlin. So let's get started. Now, imagine our library houses a special catalog of rare books. Okay, this catalog is bulky and is thus stored in a distant archive room. Okay, so to save time and effort, we only retrieve that catalog when a customer asks for a specific book in that catalog. So let's simulate that situation in Kotlin with this function. Suppose we have a function called fetch rare books catalog from archive. Okay, it returns a list of books, and let's suppose it's a huge list. Okay, we only want to retrieve this list when we actually need it, which is when you would use the lazy feature in Kotlin, and I'm going to show you how. Okay, so you write val, it has to be a val, an immutable variable, and rare books catalog. You have to specify the type like this. It's a list of books by lazy. Okay, that's how you use the lazy operator in Kotlin. And here you have to pass the function, which is fetch rare books catalog from archive. Okay, so that's the syntax. You have to use a val followed by the name of the variable, the return type or the type of the variable itself. You have to write by lazy, and inside by lazy you have to actually pass the value of this variable. Okay, in our case it was a function. Maybe in another case it would be just a list of, and as you can see, when you use the lazy operator, the last line is only taken into consideration. Okay, so in this case, this means nothing anymore, and our rare books catalog is now an empty list. Okay, we don't want that for now. We just want to have our normal list, and we can now print it out like this. Let's clear our logs and run our function. And as you can see, we have a list of books. Okay, this list of books is basically this list, but the good performance here was that we only loaded this list when we used it. And when did we use it? Inside the main method, when we called print line for our rare books catalog. Okay, which was a lazy list, which had the value of the list returned by this function. Okay, and that was the lazy function or the lazy feature in Kotlin. Okay, so now let's suppose that one of our customers tells us that he's going to change his address and he's going to give us this new address tomorrow. Okay, we are sure that there will be a new address, but we don't currently have a value for this address, and the value will be provided at a later time. This is where you use the Lateinit property in Kotlin, and I'm going to show you how. Okay, so below this you can write var updated address is a string. Okay, but the problem with a normal var is that you have to provide a value, right? So now we can write Lateinit var updated address string, which means that this is basically a variable that doesn't have a value yet. Okay, so where can we provide this value? Basically anywhere we want in our code. We can write updated address equals to new address, just like that, and we can now print out this updated address. Okay, let's comment out the rare books catalog and run our function again. And here, as you can see, we have a new address. Okay, but be careful with something in the late init modifier, if you try to access this updated address before actually setting it here, you will get an error, or basically an exception, okay? Because you're trying to access this address, this updated address, and it doesn't have a value yet, okay? So you can protect yourself in Kotlin using this. You can write two columns followed by updated address dot is initialized, okay? After that, you can just print out whatever you want in this address. So now, if I try to run my function again, I will get another exception because I'm still trying to print line before this statement, basically. Let's run that again. And as you can see, I don't have an exception anymore because this condition was basically checking if this updated address has been initialized or not. Okay, and this is very handy when you want to deal with late init variables on Kotlin. Okay, so that you can avoid exceptions like the ones we just had now. So you can just safely print it out just after you initialize it. Okay, like that. And the difference between the late init property and the lazy property is the late init property doesn't yet have a value at the time that you're initializing it, whereas the lazy property does have a value, but it is instantiated when you access that variable. Okay, so here in this println statement, what happens is that this variable now has a value equals to the list returned by this function. Okay, before accessing this variable, it didn't actually have a value. That's why it's called lazy. Okay, its value will be this, but only when it's requested or when we access it. Meanwhile, with late init variables, it doesn't have a value yet until we assign this new value at runtime, okay, after we run our code. And you have to note that lazy variables can't actually change. They have to be a val, whereas late init variables can be changed because they are late init var variables. Okay, those are the main big differences between them. There's also a point about being thread safe. Late init variables are not thread safe, whereas lazy variables are thread safe. Okay, which means that two separate threads can access and modify this late init variable at the same time, whereas that can't happen with our lazy variables. Okay. If you find my content to be relatable, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for future content, and I'll see you in the next video.